Hello guys, this is Svetlana from Kamui Cosplay, and today I wanted to show you how to create realistic texture effects. For example, this hammered steel or this real looking wood with simple EVA foam and one of my favorite crafting tools, the Dremel. So this is my Dremel. It's a Dremel 4000 with a flexible shaft attachment. I got this one a few years ago from Benny as a Christmas present and it was absolutely amazing, especially since a Dremel is just the perfect present for cosplayers. In case you still search for present, by the way. So yeah, I'm using it for pretty much every of my projects, so I'm also quite prepared since I have like plenty of different attachments and tips, so I can do a lot of things with my Dremel. So today I thought it would be just the perfect opportunity to show you all the different things you can do with a Dremel. And then, what a coincidence, Dremel, actually the brand Dremel, wrote me an email and asked me if they can sponsor this video, which is super amazing. So this is the reason why you see Werbung in the corner. This means basically just sponsored or promotion in German. And yeah, in addition to that, they also sent me a couple of machines. So I got quite some good Christmas presents. And I'm going to try all of them out and basically show you what's the best for cosplay. So thanks so much, Dremel, for supporting this channel, and it looks like I won't need to buy a new rotary tool anytime soon. So after unpacking everything, it's time to grab some EVA foam and start crafting. For that though, I'm going to my sanding table first. So this is my main sanding area where I do most of my Dremel work to keep the rest of my workshop clean. I also have here everything ready I need. For example, I have here my brand new tool stand with now 2 Dremels since I have too many Dremels. In addition, I also have some protective gear ready, like my respiratory protective gear and also some safety glasses. And the thing is, when you're working with a Dremel, and no matter if you're using wood or EVA foam, you always get some flying particles and some sanding dust, and you don't want to get this stuff into your lungs, into your eyes, into your face. So always wear some protection, very important. In addition to that, to minimize these kind of particles, I'm using a vacuum hose, a very strong one, and it basically sucks most of the dust away. So I'm working directly over this thing to keep most of the area kind of clean. In addition to that, I also have my various Dremel tips and also some EVA foam ready to show you how to do some cool textures. Now let's start with the most basic attachment, the sanding band. The sanding drum can be easily replaced by loosening the little screw at the top. This way you can even choose between different grids. I usually go with a middle grid, since it sands fast enough and the result isn't super rough. While it has a lot of different uses, I personally prefer this attachment mostly to sand beveled edges. If you're curious, I already made a separate video about how you can sand perfect edges with your Dremel. Just click on the info button in the right corner. Aside of that, you can even use it to carve out full 3-dimensional shapes. I just start with a few rough cuts of my box cutter and then smooth out the surface with the sanding band. The finished piece will look something like this. With a little bit more patience, you can even build up quite complicated shapes like these details on my Zelda sword. Oh, and I also worked with the Dremel on the blade as well. The result looks pretty convincing, I guess. However, this attachment is also perfect to smooth out rough cuts. Just turn up the speed to the highest setting and carefully go over the edge. Looks so much better, right? One other cool thing I use my sanding drum for is this handy application. Loosen your screw a little bit and move the drum upwards, but only so far that it doesn't completely cover the rubber tip. Then screw it tight again, turn it on, and now when you push it at a 90-degree angle into your foam, you can sand in these round details. Perfect for little rivets. If you like, you can also add a little cut to the middle and heat up the area afterwards. This way you get some neat looking screws. I actually use this technique for plenty of my more futuristic looking costume pieces. My Anthem rifle, for example, was completely covered in these little rivets. And also my Medion costume had some circles all over it as well. This detail is super easy to apply and gives your work some nice little extras. You can also do that with a larger sanding drum, of course. Just hold the attachment again at a 90-degree angle and press it into the foam. By making some additional cuts, you again get some proper screws. For more variety, just be a little creative and try out different attachments yourself. I used here this thin grinding stone attachment and got far smaller circles this way. I also added these details to my Star Wars blaster, for example. Mostly I just go through a variety of Dremel attachments and check what works best. Now let's change to this orange tip and carve in some deeper areas. I first mark a shape and then carve out the foam from inside this area. This technique is clearly a little bit more tricky, but I'm sure you can do it. Looks good! Well, and this is how you can add simple but cool looking details, especially for technical looking projects. As you can see, having plenty of different attachments available is clearly an advantage. This is also the reason why my own box is quite full with all kinds of attachments. Next, I want to show you the round carving bit. It may not look like it, but it's actually the perfect tool to create a hammered metal look. Just place little craters all over the foam using this tip. And yes, it takes exactly as long as it looks, but if you're patient and just keep on carving and carving and carving, you'll get this awesome effect at the end. Next, vacuum the foam nice and clean and heat it up afterwards to melt away the large foam lines. As a last step, you can grab the polishing cone attachment and basically just polish the surface and remove any remaining foam scraps. This way your result will turn out extra smooth. Ah, this turned out nice. I love it. Now for some reason, Zelda and Midna really enjoy the sound of my Dremel and want to get extra close every time I sand. However, it's important to keep your pets away so they don't breathe in any foam dust. Well, and as you saw in the beginning of this video, this is how the result of some hammered metal texture can look like. This is basically just some primer and some silver paint on top. And that's pretty much it, you know, and I think it actually looks quite convincing for just being simple EVA foam. And now you're surely also super curious on how to do this really cool wooden texture, right? So this is the next step. For the wood grain effect, I highly recommend marking it on your foam first with a pen. This gives you something to stick to while working and you know how the final result will look like. This time I'm using the white grinding stone attachment for my Dremel. I'm working only with the edge of the drum and basically just follow the lines I've drawn before. Don't worry if this doesn't work out on the first try. It's clearly a little bit tricky and you get better the more you do it. As you can see though, you can also do it completely freestyle. Especially if you're lazy like me or too impatient to draw on the lines before. I just try to add some natural looking curved lines and give them a bit more or less space between here and there. Afterwards, I heat up the foam again to smooth out the surface. Well, and this is the result. Once you paint it, it might look something like this. Pretty good, right? I used this technique for my spear from Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, and I think it turned out quite nice. Last but not least, I also want to show you how to create scales, bones and just more organic shapes. Here, just make some deep cuts with your box cutter first and then roughen up the edge. It's totally fine if you're doing this super fast and it turns out ugly. It needs to look organic after all. Then just grab the same tip we used for making the wooden texture and carve deep lines into the foam starting from the edge you cut out before. You want it to look really naturally grown, so make sure to add some variety here and there. Sand in your lines thin and thick, deep and just a little bit on the surface and go wild. The finished piece then can look something like this. I'm actually using this technique in plenty of my more organic looking costume pieces. You saw it already in my demonic Brigitte costume on the hip plates, for example, but also on my entire Monster Hunter Zinogre armor, including the dual blades. Here I used the standard sanding band to Dremel in lines and scratches. The resulting armor pieces just looked much more convincing this way. For my Nergigante costume, I used the same technique but applied even more texture. This way I was able to turn plain black EVA foam into realistic looking claws and finally, with some proper painting, into some really cool weapons from Monster Hunter World. Another awesome thing you can use your Dremel for is adding battle damage. Just Dremel roughly into your finished armor pieces and try to simulate scratches and damage from enemy attacks. This will make your costume seem way more battle-worn and realistic. Plus, it's super fun to make. Well, and that's not even all. You can do so much more with your Dremel. By using the cut-off wheel attachment, you can turn it also into a mini saw, for example. Or, if you grab one of the drill bit attachments, you can basically turn your Dremel into a drill and use it for that as well. If I learned anything about my Dremel in many years of cosplay, then it's that no matter what costume I make, there is probably an attachment out there that does exactly what I need. Now you might notice that I'm still working with the extension shaft and the Dremel 4000 despite of getting so many new tools from Dremel. Well, and the reason for that is basically that it's still my favorite. Like the Dremel Lite is a very amazing machine. Like, it's very lightweight, it's cordless, and this way it makes working with it quite amazing. But the only problem is that it has only 25,000 rotations per minute. And I mean, like, this is okay. I worked with a machine like that before, but with a cord. But yeah, it was fine. I worked with it for several years and it was okay. But then I get the 4000 from Benny, and it was absolutely amazing because it has actually 35,000 rotations per minute, and You have no idea how much this speeded up my work. Like, I'm now always working on maximum speed, and this way I'm able to send super fast and also to finish my costumes much faster. So, you know, I highly recommend you to get the Dremel 4000 as well if you want to go all in. A machine with 35,000 rotations per minute is just amazing. But if you're okay with 25,000, if you want to start smaller, a Dremel Lite would be also a great tool for you as well. But if you really want to get a cordless one, and also a strong one, you can get the Dremel 8220, which is basically my 4000 with also 35,000 rotations per minute and also a LiPo battery. So just get this one then maybe. And if you want to get more information on all the tools, all the attachments, all the accessories, just check out Dremel.com. In addition to that, you also even find a cosplay area, which is full of tips and tricks, and I think that's pretty amazing. And it gets constantly expanded, and that's really cool. So you will find a link for that in the video description down below. Check that out. So I hope I was able to show you that plain EVA foam doesn't need just to stay EVA foam. With a little bit of texturing, a little bit of sanding, you can actually turn it into anything you want. So I hope this video was helpful and inspirational. And especially I was able to show you a few ideas for presents for crafty friends and family members. And yes, I know this is a sponsored video, but you know, a Dremel is pretty cool. I got it as a Christmas present as well, and I just like it. Sorry. And if you're searching for even more crafty ideas on how to work with EVA foam, just check out my EVA foam armor book and also my EVA foam prop book. Here I show you all the things you need to know on how to turn simple EVA foam into amazing costumes, weapon replicas, and all the cool things to impress people. So get the books on kamuicosplay.com, learn all the things, and thanks so much for your support. And I really hope you liked this video, especially since a second one is coming, since Dremel sponsored us with 2 videos, which is pretty amazing. So I cannot wait to play around with even more Dremel tools. And yeah, by the way, all the tools and materials we used in this video, you can find links in the video description down below. And yeah, if you still have any questions left or any feedback or anything, also just write me a comment down below. And if you have no idea what to write, just join the Corgi Squad, write down Corgi, and support us with the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, other than that, thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know exactly when the next video is coming. Consider to support us on Patreon, so thanks so much for all the Patreons for your support, and see you very soon